Onward, I told myself, and then I turned away. I was headed to Fairbanks, where I didn't know a single person. Though I carried meager belongings, my confidence was buoyed by a set of life skills I'd acquired in suburban Philadelphia, a stellar academic transcript from a private university in Virginia, my shiny new graduate degree in environmental studies, and a growing number of miles on my hiking boots. A couple years of dabbling in environmental nonprofit organizations had inspired me to crusade for a world in which people cared more deeply about the fate of nature. I ached to contribute to this revolution. For just one summer, I wanted to be part of something noble that would help preserve one of the wildest places on Earth. The engines revved. The jet charged down the runway and lifted off. I pressed my forehead to the window and watched the city recede. It was time to go to the mountains. Mountains had discovered me as much as I had discovered them. I was 11 years old when I watched my mom spend winter nights kneeling over a huge map of the United States spread across our living room floor. She held a yellow highlighter as she paged through encyclopedia volumes and traced a route on the map. "We're going to live out of the car for a month and sleep in a tent every night," she told my 8-year-old brother Scott and me. In the kitchen, I heard her explaining the trip to my dad. "I've always wanted to see the national parks. Are you sure you can't come?" "Maureen, I'm afraid I can't take an entire month off work, but I'll join you toward the end. You pick the spot." In late June, she packed the Oldsmobile with our clothes, a cooler, a canvas tent, and cotton sleeping bags, the coffee can stove I'd made in brownies, and plastic plates and bowls. Scott and I crawled into the back seat, and we headed west toward I-70. In a couple hours, we had left the traffic, shopping malls, and pavement behind. When we got to western Pennsylvania, my eyes were wide open. I had never seen that much open space before. Scott and I laughed at the cows. Over the next 2 weeks, we walked down into the damp, dripping, colorful Carlsbad Caverns, took pictures of bison and geysers at Yellowstone National Park, and hiked in the Grand Tetons. When I walked to the rim of the Grand Canyon, I was unprepared for that level of grandeur. For a moment, I couldn't swallow. The red rocks cascading down, down, down. So much space, it made me a little dizzy, the smell of pine on the warm breeze. It was the middle of summer and midday. It must have been over 100 degrees. But we couldn't help ourselves. We started to walk down, and then, after a mile or two, realized we would need to walk back up. I remember staggering into the shade and pressing my fingertips against the shaded rock wall for balance, sweat burning my eyes, cheeks flushed, and how wiping my cheek felt like wiping sandpaper because I was smearing salt across my face. We made it back to the top, and over the course of that month, along the way, something shifted inside me, and I understood on some level that I'd been missing out. But soon I was a teenager, and there were boys and parties, fitting in, and grueling academics, the East Coast pressuring me toward its own definition of success. I sort of forgot about mountains. Until I met Holly at the University of Richmond. We became friends my freshman year, and our mutual love of riding bicycles and discovering tree-lined routes through the city bolstered our relationship. She was a year ahead of me and had long chestnut hair and emerald eyes. She spoke of the Rockies as a holy place, the West as a storehouse of possibilities. I remembered the Grand Canyon and believed her. It was almost the end of my junior year. Fed up with final exams, Holly and I had escaped to a coffee shop to write in our journals. But instead, we found ourselves talking about beauty and dreams. She wrapped her fingers around a mug of hot tea, leaned across the table, as if she was about to tell me a big secret, and said, "Beautiful things exist in greater quantities the farther west you travel." I grinned, waiting for her to say more. She had encouraged me.